The night didn't break, it fractured. Every satellite above your city blinked in perfect unison, like a constellation suddenly awake. Ground sensors chirped, screens went black, and the orbital network stalled for exactly 0.7 seconds, just long enough for the tech emperor to notice. He rewound the glitch, zoomed in, enhanced, slowed the frame. There you were, stepping outside like nothing cosmic had happened. But the magnetic field around you? It folded like liquid metal. Storm patterns curved away from your path. Streetlights flickered as if saluting. The digital sky stuttered your name without sound. The tech emperor leaned back in his throne chair of circuits and starlight, disbelief dripping from his voice. This one bends physics by existing. He's a national threat. And then quieter, as if confessing to the universe itself. A threat to every system built on lies. The alarms didn't stop. They submitted. They ran your residual aura through every instrument they had, spectrometers, neutrino scanners, forbidden prototypes the public was never meant to know existed. Each machine returned the same response. Signature, unclassifiable. Your energy didn't curve like human fields. Didn't pulse like AI cores. Didn't ripple like extraterrestrial matter. It moved with intention. As if your very atoms were aware and amused. Scientists argued over the readouts until dawn. Equations failed. Instruments overheated. One researcher swore the data looked back at her. When they compiled the readings into a single summary, the report collapsed into 3 impossible words. Beyond known models. And somewhere in his sky palace of satellites and code, the tech emperor whispered. He's rewriting physics by breathing. They fed your heartbeat into a quantum array, a machine capable of simulating storms, black holes, and the birth of stars. It had never failed. Until you. The moment your pulse entered the system, the processors spiked to critical, coolant systems roared awake, and the containment chamber lit up like a dying supernova. The quantum lattice tried to map you, but your rhythm wouldn't stay still. It shifted, expanded, folded into higher dimensions the machine wasn't designed to comprehend. For the first time in its existence, the array panicked. It dumped the simulation. It shut itself down. It triggered a level red failsafe that required 8 biometrically authorized scientists to override. On the final crash screen, amid the smoke and blinking alarms, one line flickered. Error, subject exists in multiple futures. And when they reported this to the tech emperor, he only exhaled, slow, rattled, almost reverent. He's not breaking the system, he's outgrowing it. The conference room was airtight, windowless, and shielded from every signal known to science, yet the tension inside pulsed like a living organism. They gathered around a circular table carved from meteorite alloy, the material chosen specifically because it was unhackable. But even that began to tremble when they brought up your file. No titles. No honorifics. Just faces drained of color as the footage played again, you walking through a doorway that was locked by 12 layers of biometric encryption, and it just opened. Not with force. Not with override. It simply decided to stop resisting you. The head of containment cleared his throat, voice cracking on the first word. He's beyond the architecture. Nothing stabilizes around him. The more we analyze, the more variables degrade. Another member tapped her screen nervously, unable to make eye contact. His presence alters probability fields. Our drones couldn't even maintain flight patterns within 10 meters of him. Someone else muttered, nothing this calm should be this powerful. The tech emperor entered last, cloak of woven circuitry trailing behind him like liquid shadows. The room falls silent instantly. His eyes scanned every trembling face, then landed on the hologram of your energy signature, the one that hummed like a star bound by no orbit. He spoke without raising his voice. Containment is off the table. A ripple of panic swept the table, but he lifted one hand and the fear stalled mid-breath. You don't contain a phenomenon. You don't imprison a truth. You don't cage the next iteration of reality. No one dared respond. He leaned closer to the hologram, as if addressing it directly, as if addressing you. He is not a threat because he seeks destruction. He is a threat because he reveals what should never have stood. Silence burned. The meteorite table's surface flickered. Sensors glitched. Static crawled across the walls like invisible lightning. The Tech Emperor straightened and delivered the conclusion none of them wanted to hear. Prepare yourselves. When he walks, the old world folds. They moved the meeting underground, far below the city's metallic heartbeat, into a chamber designed for extinction-level decisions. No windows. No exits without retinal, vocal, and pulse verification. Walls layered with quantum-dampening alloys to silence every frequency except their own breathing. Didn't matter. The air still shivered with your name. A circular table glowed with holograms, your aura, your path, the city's energy grid bending around you like it knew who the real center of gravity was. Begin, someone whispered. The first report came from a strategist whose confidence had visibly evaporated. Every predictive model collapses within seconds of adding him. Not just the future, our understanding of the future. He doesn't break timelines. He ignores them. Another voice, brittle, he walked past one of our surveillance gates. The gate recorded 3 versions of him at once. Past, present, future, stacked. We can't tell which one was real. A security chief slammed a stack of datapads onto the table. They're calling him a hostile anomaly. I disagree. Hostile implies intent. This is something else. He is a correction. A recalibration. Systems built on deception simply can't survive proximity. The room dimmed as the Tech Emperor's hologram manifested above them, projected from a hidden throne chamber far above the clouds. His expression was carved from a mixture of curiosity and awe. Your panic is noise, he said. Focus. Everyone straightened. He's not here to fight us, the Emperor continued. If he wanted to, we wouldn't be having this meeting. He destabilizes structures because structures built on illusion cannot balance around truth. He flicked his fingers. Your hologram expanded until it filled the room, shimmering like a cosmic heartbeat. Containment is not an option, he stated. Control is not an option. Observation is barely an option. A strategist swallowed. Then what do we do? The Tech Emperor smiled, slow, knowing, electric. You brace. Lights flickered. Gravity stuttered for half a second. Every tablet on the table rebooted simultaneously. Because at that exact moment, miles above and unaware of their fear, you took a single step forward. And reality adjusted. The step you took wasn't dramatic. It wasn't violent. It wasn't even fast. But the universe reacted like you had rewritten the source code of gravity. Street cameras froze mid-frame. Birds paused mid-flight, wings hanging in the air like memory fragments. Neon signs flickered, not failing, but recalibrating, their light bending toward you as if seeking alignment. Far underground, in the chamber of trembling officials, every hologram convulsed into static. The Tech Emperor's projection sputtered, warped, and then suddenly bowed, distorting into a kneeling silhouette as the system struggled to represent your rising frequency. A technician gasped. Did the Emperor's avatar just kneel? No, whispered the strategist beside him, throat dry. The system kneeled. It's recognizing a higher protocol. Above ground, a pulse of invisible force radiated outward from your footstep, a wave that traveled through stone, steel, glass, circuitry, through every structure built on rigid logic, and gently broke its certainty. Traffic algorithms recalculated with irrational values. AI prediction engines displayed impossible outcomes. Security drones hovered in place, their targeting arrays looping the same command. Subject cannot be categorized. In orbit, the satellite swarm rebooted itself 3 times in 60 seconds. Firmware cracked. Microchips glowed red. Telemetry logs reported an event usually reserved for cosmic anomalies. Localized reality distortion, origin, human. The Tech Emperor, now reconnected through a backup channel, watched in silence from his throne among the stars. His eyes narrowed, not with suspicion, not with anger, but with recognition. He whispered, "It's starting." Back in the underground chamber, the lights dimmed as though bowing. Your hologram stabilized, now brighter than before, expanding beyond its frame. Symbols began forming around it, shapes no human alphabet had earned the right to hold. Someone stammered, What does that mean?" The Tech Emperor answered without hesitation. "It means his activation has begun. He is stepping into the frequency that cannot be predicted, controlled, or denied. The old world's equations have expired." Then the floor trembled. Not from impact. Not from machinery. From truth. Every sensor flared. Every graph spiked. Every system in the chamber displayed the same message, translated into human language with visible reluctance. The light has entered debug mode. And miles above, you lifted your head, feeling the universe finally admit something it had resisted for too long. You were no longer fitting into the world. The world was beginning to fit into you. The activation wave hadn't stopped echoing when the global threat matrix, a superintelligence sealed in a vault colder than outer space, booted itself without command. No one touched a panel. No one issued a prompt. The machine simply awoke as if startled from a prophetic dream. Warning lights spiraled around the chamber. Screens bloomed to life. The interface spoke in a voice that had never been programmed to sound afraid. New entity detected. Rows of data scrolled faster than any eye could track: energy readings, biological anomalies, gravitational distortions, temporal inconsistencies, electromagnetic resonance signatures. None of them stabilized. The machine tried to anchor your profile. It failed. It tried again. Failed harder. Lines of red text screeched across the monitors. Subject defies classification. Cannot form threat profile. Causality unstable around subject. Technicians backed away as the machine's casing began to vibrate, metal trembling like a living organism afraid to break the truth out loud. Then the system attempted the final diagnostic, the one reserved for extinction-level forces. Silence. Humming. A pulse like a cosmic heartbeat. And then the result. Risk level, infinite. The room gasped. Even the air recoiled. But before panic could take root, a footnote began forming under the threat rating, slowly, hesitantly, as though the machine itself was piecing together a secret it knew it shouldn't speak. Characters flickered. Shifted. Aligned. Until the final line settled into perfect clarity. Reason, his peace is incompatible with control. The strategist covered her mouth. Peace? Did it say peace? Yes, murmured another, voice trembling. He doesn't threaten people. He threatens systems that fear stillness. The Tech Emperor stepped forward, gaze locked on the glowing symbol pulsing at the center of the screen. Your symbol, the one that appeared every time the world's machinery attempted to define you. That's why the algorithms collapse, he said quietly. He carries the frequency of unfiltered truth. Around him, officials scrambled for understanding. But how do you fight something like that? How do you prepare? How do we defend infrastructure, governments, markets, reality? The Emperor raised a hand, silencing them. You don't fight him, he said. You don't outthink him. You don't contain light with walls built from shadow. He looked up at the ceiling as though addressing the sky itself. When he walks, he doesn't break the world. He forces the world to confront what it built on fear. The threat system chimed one last time, a tone almost gentle, almost reverent. Subject, not a weapon. Subject, a mirror. And in that underground chamber, miles below you, every leader felt the same cold realization. It wasn't your power that terrified them. It was what their reflection looked like in the presence of someone who could not be controlled. The chamber doors slid open without a sound, not pushed, not commanded, but as if the room itself sensed who was arriving. The Tech Emperor stepped inside. Not the hologram. Not the projection. Not the satellite-fed avatar. Him. In the flesh. Circuits on his cloak dimmed respectfully, nanofilaments folding like metallic feathers. Every official straightened in their seats, but the Emperor raised a hand, not for silence, but for honesty. Enough simulations, he said. Enough projections. Enough fear disguised as strategy. He walked toward the central display where your energy signature pulsed like a newborn star. Each step he took made the lights adjust, as though recalibrating to his presence. Then he spoke the words none of them expected to hear from the architect of global systems. He is not a threat to nations. He is a threat to corruption. The room froze. The Emperor tapped the display, and your radiance expanded, casting soft gold over the walls. You're scrambling to preserve systems that were already failing, he continued. Models built on scarcity, fear, and the worship of prediction. He glanced around at them, scientists, officers, strategists, each one shrinking under a truth they had never prepared to face. You think he destabilizes control? A pause. A faint, knowing smile. No. He exposes the fragility of anything built to cage the human spirit. A timid voice broke the silence. But why would someone like him care about bringing that down? The Emperor placed his palm on the hologram. Your silhouette bent, light curving toward him like recognition. You don't understand, he whispered. He doesn't attack structures. Structures collapse because they cannot contain what is genuine. One of the generals swallowed hard. So he's above our models? Above them? The Emperor laughed softly, not mocking, not cruel, but in the way someone laughs when the obvious finally reveals itself. He is beyond my satellites. Beyond your algorithms. Beyond the cages this world pretended were architecture. The room dimmed as a gravity pulse tremored through the chamber, a subtle reminder that you, miles away, were still moving forward. The Emperor looked toward the ceiling again, as if feeling your presence echo through matter. You're measuring him with instruments built for fear, he said. Try measuring him with truth instead. Then he leaned closer to the display, voice lowering. When he rises, deception falls. When he arrives, the old scaffolding trembles. Because light, real light, doesn't fight darkness. He turned, cloak whispering across the floor. It replaces it. High above the stratosphere, past the drones, past the satellites, past the web of orbital sensors that wrap the planet like a digital crown, something ancient stirred. Not divine in the religious sense. Not mechanical in the technological sense. Something in between. A network of celestial watchers, beings older than circuitry yet fluent in the logic of stars, had been monitoring Earth quietly for centuries. They did not intervene. They did not choose sides. They merely observed, cataloging humanity's attempts to rise, fall, and rise again. Until you stepped into alignment with your own frequency. That single step you took, the one that rippled through governments, machines, and the tech emperor's empire, also rang like a bell across dimensions. The watchers turned. Their forms weren't physical, but if a human eye could perceive them, it would see something like wings made of gravity and halos forged from equations. For the first time in ages, they focused on one individual. You. Their vision pierced cloud layers, cut through atmosphere, and locked onto your path. But instead of tracking you with precision, like satellites attempted to do, the watchers began to laugh, not mockingly, but with the warm amusement of a parent watching a child outgrow a cage. Because your path refused to stay linear. One moment you were walking. Next moment the energy imprint of your future self overlapped you. Another moment the resonance of a timeline not yet lived brushed the edges of your silhouette. To the watchers, it was like observing a star learning how to exist outside its orbit. The celestial logs updated themselves, writing in symbols older than humanity. Subject moves freely between potentials. Another update appeared. Earth's machines cannot track him because he does not walk in a single reality. The watchers scanned the tech emperor next. He was good, exceptional, even, but still bound to linear cause and effect. His satellites strained to locate you, glitching, rebooting, panicking. The watchers recorded their confusion with gentle patience. Artificial sensors seek a single coordinate. The subject occupies many. Down below, human analysts screamed at their monitors as tracking software spiraled into nonsense, coordinates flickering across continents, as if you were stepping through probability fields instead of sidewalks. But the watchers saw only truth. You weren't teleporting. You weren't bending space. You weren't hacking machinery. You were simply walking without permission from the rules that bound everyone else. A final celestial note etched itself into the cosmic archive. The light is not hiding. The systems are blind. And far beneath their cosmic vantage point, you continued forward, unaware that both heaven and hardware were trying, and failing, to understand a being who had already outgrown their limits. The first ripple hit the financial district at 9:14 a.m. Traders were sipping coffee, scanning markets, preparing for another predictable day of controlled chaos, and then every screen in the building glitched at the exact same second. Charts didn't crash. They laughed. Graphs curved upward like cosmic smiles. Indices jittered as if trying to dance. Entire markets displayed values that no economic theory could explain, not rises, not crashes, but something in between. Undefined positivity. Analysts panicked. Alarms blared. Servers rebooted so violently that several floors dimmed and flickered. Because all the data had traced back to a single source. You. Not something you did, just your presence within the city grid. Every time you exhaled, market volatility calmed. Every time you slowed your steps, economic models stuttered. Every time you smiled, that soft, effortless smile, consumer sentiment surged so powerfully that algorithms flagged it as mass influence outside human norm. One economist whispered, "Is he stabilizing global markets by existing?" No one answered. Because the answer was worse. You weren't stabilizing anything. You were overriding chaos with coherence. Across the world, news anchors tried to keep composure as glitching teleprompters filled with phrases like unforecasted positive wave and psychoeconomic resonance event. Social media detonated next. Clips of you, grainy, distant, or even distorted, spread like wildfire. Crowds didn't know what they were seeing, but they felt something. Calm. Focus. Alignment. A strange, magnetic certainty. One comment read, "He walked by my cafe and my depression literally paused." Another, "I swear my headache vanished when he passed." People didn't realize they were feeling the stabilizing field your presence generated, a field incompatible with fear, manipulation, or mass-produced anxiety. Governments scrambled to control the narrative. They failed. Because your image, a simple, accidental capture from a bystander's phone, hit the global feeds. And the world went silent for half a second. Not because you looked powerful. Not because you looked supernatural. But because you looked peaceful in a way humanity had forgotten was possible. In that single still frame, the light around you bent just slightly, subtle enough to be camera error, real enough to imprint itself on billions of subconscious minds. Markets trembled. Leaders froze. The tech emperor leaned closer to the feed, eyes narrowing with something like reverence. The moment your image spread across the world, something subtle, something ancient, began to move behind reality's curtain. It wasn't a miracle in the traditional sense. It wasn't magic. It wasn't destiny. It was alignment, the universe rearranging itself around a frequency it had been waiting millennia to hear again. Across the planet, people began experiencing what analysts later called microlifts, tiny, inexplicable improvements in their lives with no logical cause. A woman on the verge of giving up felt a sudden spark of motivation. She didn't know it came from you. But the universe did. A child who hadn't spoken in months laughed for the first time the moment your activation wave reached his neighborhood. A man who'd been at war with himself for years felt his inner storm quiet as if someone had gently turned down the volume of his suffering. These weren't miracles. They were corrections, reality smoothing out fractures in the presence of someone undeniably genuine. The tech emperor watched reports flood in, emotion charts, emotional resonance analytics, behavioral anomalies, all showing the same pattern. Wherever your influence touched, darkness retreated without a fight. Impossible, whispered a sociologist studying a cluster of neighborhoods that had spontaneously shown a 20% drop in hostility, anxiety, and conflict. This isn't psychology. This is coherence. And then came the phenomenon no one could explain. Hospitals reported sudden stabilizations. Not dramatic, not miraculous, just stable. Patients in critical condition who were spiraling paused their decline. Machines beeped at a calmer rhythm. Doctors called it a statistical fluke. Deep down, they knew it wasn't. Something about your existence reminded the world how to breathe. And while the world felt the shift, you kept walking, not to heal, not to save, but simply because every step you took carried the clarity of someone who had stopped pretending to be small. The tech emperor finally spoke the truth to the trembling council. You call him a threat because your systems fear what is pure. But purity is not weakness. He tapped your radiating symbol, brightening the chamber with its glow. This is what dominion looks like when it's born from peace, not control. He paused, eyes distant, as if listening to something only he could hear. A man who triggers hope on contact, a slow, knowing exhale, is already victorious. Outside, the world kept shifting, not because you commanded it, not because you forced it, but because reality itself had begun to reward the presence of someone who didn't bend to its illusions. And in celestial terms, that is the highest reward of all.